Hi, welcome to Adjusting Your Heart. I'm Doc AJ Chua, and today's topic is how to help someone who is heartbroken. Our hearts can shatter into pieces after a splintered friendship, a rejection, a breakup, a broken engagement, a failed marriage, or a loved one's death. Regardless of the reason why a person is brokenhearted, this is a critical time for us to be by their side. And let me share with you some tips that I find to be very effective in helping those who are brokenhearted, especially from my 30 years of counseling experience. When people are brokenhearted, they're often overwhelmed with pain, despair, and hopelessness. It seems that their hearts are broken into so many pieces that they don't know how to move on. When this happens to a family member or a friend, let's be there for them. Let's journey with them until they are strong enough to stand on their feet again. And during this time, one way we can do that is to lend them our ears. Give them a call. As the saying goes, a phone call a day takes the loneliness away. So know when is the best time to call. Please do not call during meal times, nap times, or sleeping times. You may text and ask when is the best time to call. And know what your friend prefers, whether it's going to be an audio or a video call. Call when you can give them your full attention. So please don't call them when you're emotionally down, because you won't be able to encourage your friend. And you might just add to his or her burden. But what if your friend rejects your call? Please don't get angry or feel hurt, because people grieve in different ways. Some people just want to be alone. So just leave a message and tell your friend that anytime you need someone to talk to, I'm here. You may check out my previous video entitled Make Others Feel Special by Validating Their Feelings. I shared how we can listen attentively, listen without judging, and listen with empathy. Listen attentively so that you don't need to ask questions to things that have already been shared to you. You may clarify if you get confused with so many details. Yet remember that as long as you know the gist and as long as you listen, that's good enough. And if you feel like crying after listening to their sad tales, it's okay to cry with them. Though you may not know what to say, it already brings great comfort that there's somebody who listens and somebody who understands them. Understand that your friend is undergoing one of the 5 stages of grief, and just react appropriately. Our role is to help them reach acceptance. If you want to know more about the 5 stages of grief, you can check out my previous video about coping with grief. So the first stage would be denial. Your friend could say something like, I can't believe that my spouse left me for someone else. You can respond by saying, I truly can't imagine the pain you're undergoing through right now. Or maybe your friend turned to vices to dull the pain, whether it's smoking, drinking, gambling, or drugs. Then you can respond by saying, I know that you're going through a very difficult time, but please don't destroy your health in the process. These vices only provide temporary relief. The second stage would be anger. Like your friend would say, who do you think he is? I don't need him. I'll bash him in social media. You could respond by saying, I understand you're very angry right now, but bashing him in social media might put you in a negative light and hinder any chance of reconciliation in the future. And here's also a tip to those who are helping others. Please don't say anything negative about their significant other, because this might backfire when they reconcile. And also remember that you're only hearing one side of the story. Or maybe out of anger, your friend said, I'll start dating again, so he'll be jealous. You can respond by saying, I suggest that you don't do that. You don't have any guarantee that he'll be jealous, and try to win you back. But what if that gives him another reason not to reconcile with you? Also, it will be unfair to the next guy. And technically, you're just using him. Moreover, women generally heal more slowly than guys. So take time to heal first. Or maybe out of anger, your friend said something like, "I'm going to throw away all the stuff she gave me." You can respond by saying, "If seeing the pictures and the things causes you grief, I suggest that you temporarily put everything in a box and hide it somewhere. That way, in case you guys reconcile, you can still bring them back. And it won't pause as another source of conflict, especially when that person finds out you threw out everything. In case things didn't work, and you can then decide to throw them permanently." What if somebody shows anger towards self? "It's all my fault. I should have been more understanding." You can respond by saying, "I think you're being too hard on yourself. When conflicts arise, both parties have their faults. And in retrospect, in what way could you have been more understanding?" That way, if you get the chance to be together again, things can improve and fights can be prevented. The third step would be bargaining. Your friend would say something, "As long as she gives me another chance, I'll do whatever she wants me to do." You can respond by saying, "I suggest that you tell her that and see what she has to say. Do your best to win her back and save your marriage. But please give that person also some space. If you keep on begging that person, she might just keep on running away from you. So try reverse psychology. Let her miss you. And you never know that she will take the initiative to call you first. And avoid constantly checking her social media account because it might hurt if you see her happy with someone else." The fourth stage of grief is depression. Your friend could say something like, "I can't sleep, I can't eat, or I can't even work properly these days." You can respond by saying, "It's perfectly normal to be at a loss because of what have happened. But however, you have to force yourself to eat properly and to have enough sleep. The people who loves you are very worried. And please do not harm yourself. It's not worth it." Okay? And the last stage would be acceptance. By this time, your friend should be able to say, "Though it hurts me deeply that our wedding didn't push through, I guess this is better than getting a divorce in the future." You could respond by saying, "I'm glad that you see it that way. Some friends who encountered the same problem as yours said the same thing. And eventually they were able to find someone who suits them better." Or that person could say something like, "I realize that both of us contributed to the problem. So whether or not we'll get back together, I'll do my best to work on my weaknesses." You could respond by saying, "I'm glad you realized that." And you could also share an appropriate verse like Psalm 147 verse 3, especially if they're still very down, like, "God heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds." You could also encourage them to pour their hearts and their thoughts and write everything down in a journal. They could pray and ask help from God. And we could encourage them not to become bitter, but rather to be able to forgive themselves, forgive their ex or whoever that person might be, because carrying a lot of emotional baggage is not only very difficult, but it can hamper future relationships.